Hi,
Hi, Mee.
everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back to another episode, DIY Try or Buy. This will be an interesting and fun, probably, I think. But today we're going to talk about the election because it is this season. We are in an election year, good, bad, and indifferent. So, wanted to talk about some of the experiences that we are having, what we're seeing. Also, let's not forget, election time is, yes, the national election. Presidency always gets a lot of the marketing, a lot of the ads, the debates, on national attention, but your state wide elections are just as important as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and even talk about what's happening where Aisha and I live in our county. But I have been very transparent. I'm not a huge fan of election years or this time and what we see um, on TV and social media, the coverage. Not a huge fan of it just because people get really upset, they get triggered, they argue with one another. Not a huge fan of election time, but let's talk about it because it's everywhere.
It's
Um,
important, and it's important. As
it
much
is
as we don't
important.
like talking about it, it's important. Yes.
It
Okay.
is important to know what's happening and to make good decisions for yourself. So yeah, let's get into it. Election season. So Aisha, kind of give us kind of your take. Start wherever you want to, kick this off about kind of the election. You can go broad, you can go in depth.
Sure. So where we live currently, as far as locally, I know I have been initially when it was time to go back to school, I really started looking at the school board, right? And the candidates within the school board. I went to a school board meeting and I was the only person of color there that I knew of. I mean, it wasn't a big room at all. But it was just interesting to see how I had never been to a school board meeting. I'm just going to be completely honest, never been engaged in my son's uh, the school board as a whole. I mean, always engaged with the teachers, but not really on the level of how much money, moves through the school district and what they vote on. So it was very interesting for me to experience that. So I am although my son will not be attending school here in this county for a number of reasons, and that's a whole nother podcast episode, but I still do care about who represents the school district. So, um, don't know them personally, but I love the fact that one of our local papers did a great job. I'll say a pretty decent job. The paper's called The Republican, and it's not a Republican paper, but that's just a name that has been used through time. It's just an old paper. But long story short, they did I don't know if anybody or any paper in your towns do this, Pete's, but they did I don't know if you can see this, man. Okay, here we go. They did like an election guide, right? From local all the way to national. And they did interviews and had you get a glimpse of what the views are on each candidate and, what they're, just all kinds of things. So that really helped. So it made me, the people that I actually saw, it made me kind of look at their viewpoints. And I met a few of them too. So yeah. So yeah, locally, teachers, school board. We for our state, Indiana, we will be voting on a new governor, some senators. So it's just a lot going on. It's a huge change for our state. We are a red state. We feel it being living in a red state. Um, my thoughts on it. Um, I gotta vote. I gotta vote. I mean, that's the biggest thing. My vote is important. I know it matters. I feel like I was sharing with you when we were prepping for this conversation. I feel like I need to even participate in volunteering and voting at one of the polls, just to see how things are ran and have a presence there. It's just a lot. Yeah, we just got to vote. It's a lot going on. I know we'll talk about it in our next bullet points, but what about you, Mihi? What do you feel from a local and national level as far as candidates are
Yeah.
concerned?
I'll go broad. I think I looked up just some facts from the 2020 election, and it was the highest kind of voting turnout. And we all remember that election.
Hmm.
So we have lived through it and now have come to another election year. But when I kind of looked at the stats, 66% of eligible voters, right? Anyone eligible to vote, 66% did vote in the 2020 election. However, when you really break that down, um, they group by age, right? You always have to verify your date of birth when you go to register to vote. But the 18 to 24 year voter, eligible voter, they were the least number of voters. And I'm wondering, right, that 18 to 24, you're newly graduated from high school, so you're eligible to vote, but that 18 to 24 pocket, well, that's a lot of college students. They may be going to college away from their, physical home address. And I'm wondering if that causes some issues. Is it they don't care? That traditionally has been the lowest turnout for voters. As the ages increase, older generations, you see larger numbers of eligible voters coming out to actually vote. So that was interesting. Those are always typically the trends. I think broadly, because of the divisiveness that I see, I think people get really fixated about a person versus the party and the people behind that one person. I think working in state government, you see all the moving agencies that support the infrastructure of a state, the federal government. There's a lot of people that have to work together, and it's not just the president or the vice president. And so they place different people in these positions to oversee different agencies, different federal agencies. So that's kind of how I think that a lot of people fixate on the president, right? The candidate for presidency and that one person. But in reality, it is just one person. And really, behind the scenes, when you uncover who are they going to bring in? Because those are the
Yeah,
people who execute the change, right?
right.
Do the work.
Hmm. Hmm.
Locally, I worked in K-12 for 10 years. So I've been keen to how school districts work. Obviously, a school board um, approves a superintendent that supports a school district. And then there's different types of schools like private schools that are maintained by like an archdiocese. There are charter schools. They have different, they may have boards, but very different and in the way they control the funding. Um, I think, if you have school age children, to me, that it makes it more important locally. Locally for us, there are 3 school board seats up for election. And there's candidates that you and I both know. I think my son's former principal is running this year. I loved him as a principal. So, but again, I love that you showed our local paper runs information about every candidate locally, right? Even in our state running. I really like how it's informing. Um, and I believe it's bipartisan, so it's just, it's information on these candidates themselves. I just love that they're trying to give more access to the information. It's up to each of us who is eligible to vote to read that and gain that access because that paper is everywhere in our local county. And I'm grateful for that. I haven't gotten the issue. I think it came out yesterday.
I
Um,
think it is. Yeah.
yeah. So it helps me and they record, candidates that talk. I don't think it's really debate, but they bring these candidates together to do a forum so people can get to know who they are, what platforms they believe in, they're standing on. So yes, very broad. But again, I'm gonna
And to your point too, to those who, like you said, who to those who are eligible to vote, make sure you are still eligible to vote. Uh, Double check, triple check, make sure you're still able to vote. I'm trying to say this the most politically correct way as I can. There's
Yeah.
you can Google, you can like, you can Google and find out where your voter registration is to find out where your polling location is, or if you're still eligible to vote. So it's very important. Okay.
Mhm.
So I had to
I
say on
will,
that.
and I just recently did that just to double check. And you can Google those just keys words in a search engine in
Mhm.
saying registration or voter registration, and it sent me to my state's link. And it had all these different options on registering to vote. I have registered to vote, or check your voter registration. um, I did. You enter your name, I think your date of birth, and the county you were registered in, and then it will spit back your information, your exact polling location, all early voting locations as well, with times, days. I thought that was helpful. And then every candidate that's going to show up on my ballot. So I thought that was helpful because just to make it very clear, October 7th is the last day to register to vote, or even post in the mail as well. So October 7th is the very last day. If you're not sure, young people, this is a message, maybe a plea, 18 to 24. If you're a college student, if it's your first time registering, you just turned 18, like good for you. This is your civic right, right, to vote once you turn 18. But um, there's access, there's support that can help you locally. Our paper does it. Check if your paper or your county does something like that to give you just information about who to choose. Because I think what's most ignored is the local entity, city, county councilors. They make decisions for what happens into the county to approve businesses coming in and what types of businesses. So they're making local decisions for us. I think that's important. And I think when I was young, I didn't care about local things.
Yeah, that's true.
You only know what you know. You live in kind of, I hate to say a bubble, but if you don't go out there and seek the information, and I surely didn't when I was a young person, I didn't care about it, right? So I do think the young generation though cares a lot more about different things. I think they're very more informed. They have access to information a lot differently. When Aisha and I grew up, we didn't have the social media channels. We had, we grew up when the AOL ding 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 was just starting. So yeah, so I mean that's the truth.
Yeah,
So
it's
um,
true.
yeah,
But,
I think a lot to the election, right? But
yeah. But hey, listen, I'm very hopeful. I'm hopeful for the new generation. I know you talked about the statistics for 2020. But I feel like with the Swifties and the Beehive, if people think this that they don't have influence, they do. Because then if they didn't, we wouldn't have anything called influencers. So I feel like because they have such major platforms, they will get their fans out to rock the vote, to register, to do all the things. And I'm also hopeful too because what just happened with the execution in Missouri. Knowing that that is a local representation, state representation, all the things, not national, just focusing on Trump and Kamala, but people really do care about, not to say they didn't before in the past, but because we have such the technology and social media to find out what's really going on in different states, like they still have forms of slavery in Alabama. Like what? People are like, okay, who's in the office? Can't so and then we people have platforms to say, hey, call your senator, call this person. And it makes it easier for you to advocate. Whereas before, you gotta mail stuff, get on the picket lines. Now people can just send you a link and you could protest or sign a petition. So I'm hopeful in that sense. And I feel like this election is very important to not just people our age, but those that are, coming behind us, like the teenagers, because the decision that happens with this election is going to affect not just the teens, but our kids, you know? So yeah, he's 15. But yeah, it's gonna affect everybody. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm trying to really be hopeful and prayerful at the same time. So what is it like as far as it in your, because you go to work, you are on Zoom calls with people. I know your transition you talked about in the last episode that you're going on to a new job. Yay. So you starting a new job, there's new people. They're probably going to feel you out, see where you stand, where you sit on what side. How do you deal with politics in the workplace and at home, or with family, or your in-laws and your cousins, your sister, your brother-in-law? Is it even talked about at the Notre Dame games?
Right. I feel like at work, depends on the workplaces. Usually people won't like on Zoom calls, I don't think people are talking about the election.
Mhm.
Where you might get some of that is like depending on your work now, right? I would say in corporate type offices, I think it's taboo to talk
Mm,
about politics at work. At least I haven't experienced in that frame or setting. Now, if you work in a like operational landscape, right, in different industries too. I have a feeling that it does come up every now and then, right? Because people are a little bit lax, informal, I would say, in more very informal or even social settings, right? Like after work. Like if you're going to a happy hour, like I feel like it could come up. I haven't experienced that because I've been remote based. So my, social interactions even with my coworkers are limited. Um, Previously, but I know if it comes up, I probably I'm not comfortable talking about politics at work. Like, here's the thing: I respect whomever. If you vote, great. Uh, we can agree to disagree. We're all not going to vote on the same person, right? However, if you get nasty at work, like, no, no, no. I'm not. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I have to really think about it because it haven't hasn't really like impacted me a ton. But if somebody was gonna sit there and like debate one side or the other and get really passionate at work, I'd be like, I think we all have a project to get to. you
or
know?
like you were on a Zoom call, and behind, on their wall, it had a sign that says who they're endorsing or something like that. Would that make you feel a little some type of way, or have your eyebrow go up like, I'm excited?
I mean, I think so because like you're showing up to the meeting with an agenda. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know how I
Yeah,
feel about that, right? You're still
that's
on a Zoom
okay.
call. You're in a professional environment still. Like,
Mhm.
do you want the politics to come through on like who you are in that meeting before you even talk? Like, it's almost. I think it could be distracting. I
Yeah.
don't know. Have you ever seen that though in a
No,
Zoom?
I do look a little sideways sometimes if I'm driving and I see the, like, not the little signs, but the big ones. Or, again, we're in Indiana, so if I'm driving and I see the pickup trucks with the big old flags, the American flag, and then the other flags that they support, it's a little unnerving. Um,
I'm gonna.
yeah,
This is a rhetorical question, maybe for our viewers. When did these flags start coming out? Okay, rhetorical question. Like growing up, I don't know if I saw election flags waving. I don't know if I have, but I'm just putting it out
I saw
there.
a Confederate flag.
I know we do see those. Yes. So right, like that's something newer.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is something newer. It's interesting. I will talk about a local election. There's a local school board candidate here. I don't know if you drive around town, this candidate has huge banners compared to the other school board. I'm going to keep it school board. I'm just saying, and I'm like, whoa, right? And there's multiple. I don't know if you've seen them, Aisha. But that's interesting, right? Because what is that? It's branding and marketing.
Mhm.
branding and marketing. The larger I need to look up statistics. Is
Because
the
I
marketing
think too,
budget,
it is marketing too, because I think a lot of times, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Most people will not research who they're going to vote for. When they get to the polling, they, oh, what is the one that I saw all the time? You know, that big old marketing banner. And then they'll vote for them. Because they again,
you know
they
what?
don't cut
I'm vulnerable. I'm gonna be vulnerable. I've done that.
see.
Especially with local
Yeah.
elections. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, okay, I know who I'm gonna vote for the presidency, and here
Mhm.
we go down. Okay, I don't know. This is
Right.
that eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It's nonpartisan,
Right, right,
right?
right, right.
Um,
Or like the voting day, they'll stand, the actual candidate will stand outside the voting
or they get
location.
representatives to stand at
Mhm.
different polling location to say, vote for so and so, vote for so and so for school.
Right. No.
Okay, guilty. I have had a colleague talking about working polls. I didn't work the poll, but
Mhm,
supporting, right,
mhm,
somebody that's on that local precinct district ballot. I've done that to support a colleague that was running for school board, right, because I believed in that candidate. So yes, but that's how they help, because you're right, on that day, November 7th, people still go into the polls blind to their local, um, to the local candidates on their ballots. They
yeah,
don't know who they
yeah,
are. And again,
mm,
like, if you don't, I guess if you don't have a child, a school age child, then school board doesn't mean as much to
mhm.
you. But friends, you all pay
And
taxes.
or your
So
tax dollars, right, or your tax dollars. You're just like, "Oh, I'm gonna pay taxes anyway, so who cares?
who
It's gonna
cares,
go
right?
there." Yeah.
But it's, it's about, what do you care about it? I care about it. I care about school board. But that's interesting. So okay,
And
so
I really started
workplace.
caring when I saw some of those bids come up at school board meetings and seeing where them dollars going. I was just like, wow, okay. But anyway, that's another story. Okay.
Yes. Um, so what about you, workplace? I
I'm
skipped
like,
prep school.
like
Yeah.
you, I'm really in this place now where I don't have to deal with a whole lot of people. It's intentional. I'm going to an event or a meeting, no one's talking about it. So I've been blessed to be able not to deal with a work environment where we're having water cooler moments. It's just not happening. So
Hmm.
don't have that problem. Thank you, Jesus. As far as family, um, most of my family, I hope they all vote. I hope they all vote, but I already know what way the ticket they're going. And I will say this: a lot of people from a national perspective, I think a lot of my family will vote for Kamala, but it's not because she's a black woman, or it's because that's the best candidate that we have for a lot of reasons. She wasn't my favorite initially, um, but sometimes people say the lesser of two evils. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that she's evil. I'm just saying, that is the candidate we have. She most aligns with what I believe, and that's how you have to do it. You can't vote. This is just my opinion. Just my opinion. No candidate is going to have everything that you believe in. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen, right? So you have to say, okay, have some common sense, which I know sense is not common sometimes. Who more aligns with what I believe? I mean, and so that it just, for me, it's really, really simple because a candidate can say all the things that you want to hear and still go the opposite way. So it's not, or tell you what they're going to do, but then when it gets to the floor, still get shut down. You just don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, because
So,
again, it's behind the scenes,
mhm,
right? That
mhm.
vote also, Congress, just people need to be
Oh,
informed on
they're
who makes those
politicians.
decisions.
They're politicians. So
Hmm.
I don't have on rose-colored glasses and thinking, oh my gosh, she's a black woman. She's gonna do everything she says she's gonna do. Look, she's a woman and she represents everybody. And I know that she's not gonna be able to get everything done, but her heart is in the right place. She's smart, she's educated, she's qualified. There's so many pros on her side for me versus the other candidate. I mean, literally he's been in office before. So what has he shown us then? So yeah, I know we're talking broad, but you know me, I could, uh, yeah.
So let's move kind of the impact, like our kids, both Aisha and I's sons, are not of voting age. But
Hmm.
she has a teenager. I have a much younger son who's 8. So elementary, high school, very different ages. But I'm curious to know what the impact, like, does your son say anything about what he sees, what he intakes? Does he tell you about any like banter at school? And then I'll share what I hear from an 8-year-old's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted him to watch the debate with me. We watched it. He watched a little bit of it because it was like past his bedtime, but I really wanted him to see. And it was historic, you know. Um, but they do talk about it at school. Uh, he makes his own smart comments about what some of the candidates. Um, he he has protested with me in downtown Indiana for women's rights. So although he is not a woman, he is very aware of what could happen if Trump gets in office. He talks to me about the Project 2025. We talk about that. I mean, not in length, but we talk about, the Department of Education, if that is no longer, just all kinds of things. So he's mindful. He's never said, "Oh, my, I wish I can vote," but he, he's aware. I'll say that. And the kids are aware and they do care. I really feel like these high school kids really do care. They do. Yeah.
Yeah. So from an 8-year-old's perspective, right? He's not, I would say he's, not going to be informed in the
Hmm.
way that maybe a high schooler
Hmm.
is. What he hears is everything he hears from his friends at school.
Yeah.
So one thing his dad and I have agreed that, like, we don't watch politics, we don't watch any of the political channels right now. I say channels, but right now every news channel is a political channel. Like, I know when you can't watch CBS Sunday mornings without political banter, I
Hmm.
like, no. But he talks about each candidate. He sees the ads, the commercials when we're watching things, they'll come up. And he realizes that there is our vice president is running for president. Very broad, just at surface level. There's a female running for president. He thinks that's very cool,
Gotcha.
just based on gender, because there's
Hmm.
never been, right? But again, this is 8-year-old, right? To me, I don't think that's an informed decision. It is just what he sees.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his friends do talk about President Trump a lot. They talk about Biden a lot. It's really interesting what he sends at home, because then me and his dad are like, "Where'd you hear that?" He's like, "My friends." And like, "Well, what do you think? Do you even know the candidate?" But I'm telling you, he will repeat. He's at age, he's going to repeat things. And me and his dad are like, "That didn't come from us because we don't talk about that at home."
Have
Um,
they talked about like the whole thing going on in Springfield? Because that was a big viral
No, I
thing.
am glad
Okay.
that content has not hit him. I hope it
Okay.
doesn't. Um,
Okay.
the way I think kids are talking about it is like they're just making fun
Yeah.
of the president, former president. I
Hmm.
mean, they make fun of them. That's kind of how he banters about it. So it's interesting.
So what is your hope moving forward? Like after it's all said and done, after everyone has voted, and they're probably going to drag this out just to make sure that every vote is counted. What is your hope for all of this?
My hope for after every election that, the divisiveness dies down. But
Hmm.
again, after we've seen in the couple election cycles that it lingers where somebody's going to be mad. People are going to be mad. Whoever gets voted in, right? There's going to be a side that is not happy. I think my hope is that that time frame for people to move forward is short, that it doesn't have to linger on again with anger, disdain, whatever the negative feelings are, because like it is what it is. Somebody is going to become president.
Right.
Clearly, there are other options on the ballots. There
Mhm.
will be other
Mhm.
options, but we kind of know that there's kind of two clear front runners, two parties that typically will be the dominant votes. But that's kind of my hope. It's going to be historic no matter what. Let's neutral, like just be neutral. Either a former president, right, 2 terms ago is going to go back into office, or the first female president will be right running the country. Like it will be historic, whatever happens. Whether whatever side you were on, you like it or not. But again, there's gonna be some fallout. There's gonna be coverage, and that's what I don't like about it is how long we stay on like, oh, I hate the results. Okay, well, we all voted. So if your candidate doesn't become president, like we see the reactions, right? We see things that people do when they get mad or upset. Whatever that happens, I hope that people accept that, hey, this is the candidate. Like I will say, like where I live, there I know where a lot of people will vote because of the flags and the signs they put in your yard. It's right when you choose to put a sign in your yard, you're telling to your neighborhood that this is how I'm voting. Right? It's pretty clear. My husband and I choose not to put signs out. Not even for school board, and I know they're nonpartisan, but we have agreed like we're just not going to put that on there because quite frankly, we have seen that those are also targets too in neighborhoods. So, but I will agree to disagree with whomever, but I will take the political piece off because at the end of the day, they're my neighbor. I take tomatoes to them, or, right, we talk about the majority of the time outside of this year, we talk about other things outside of, like, oh, how'd you get your plants to grow so well? Oh, what'd you do here? Oh, my weeds are getting, like, what do you, like, we don't talk about politics. That's not what really unites us together. So, long-winded. I'm just hopeful after it's all done that we come back to being humans. We treat each other with respect, agree to disagree, whatever the results might be, and we be human. We be human.
In the words of the great Maya Angelou, she says, "When people show you who they are, believe them." And I say that in every sense of the word, especially with all the candidates from local to national candidates running for office. For me, my hope is that, people understand that this is just a part, we are just a part of the world, right? We are part of we're citizens of the United States, but there is a greater kingdom for me, God. I'm just living in it, and this is not the end all be all. So we are governed by the things that we're in currently on this earthly realm. But like you said, wherever the chips fall, I'm good. I'm good. I'm gonna be good either way. But I'm praying that Kamala wins. That is who I'm voting for. And I say that proudly because from her wanting to debate a candidate about issues about my reproductive rights and other women, about the Department of Education, about all the things that are important to me. Um, People being able, and I'm going off of her agenda. People are like, well, I don't know what she's gonna, I don't know. I need to know more information. Google it. It's not hard. Okay. Her agenda is there. But I just want someone who can represent the things that I believe in. Again, I don't agree with everything she says, but it's more aligned to the things that I believe in. As a Christian, you know, I might not believe everything that she wants in place, but I do believe that everybody has the right to believe and love and do whatever you want to do because that's your belief. So, I'm praying she wins. But like you said, if not, I'll still hand over a tomato to my neighbor. I might throw it. No, I'm kidding. No, real talk. We just still at the end of the day, we all still have to be who we are, be our authentic self, love who we love. And honestly, I love the fact that the climate is the way it is because when people show me who they are, okay, I need to, align myself accordingly. Oh, that's how you feel? Okay, thank you for the information. Still going to be nice to you, but at least I know who you are because like you said, when things like this happens, the ugliness comes out and yeah, okay, so now oh, thank you for this information. Putting in the back of my head and now we know. So,
Mhm. You said
we only have a
something
few minutes left. Go ahead.
Yeah, you said something pretty powerful, like, you're not gonna agree 100% with a candidate,
Mm-mm.
but
You're
you're
just
gonna
not
choose the best one for you,
for you and
and
your
what I
family,
respect is that I'll respect that everybody's choosing the best for them.
for them. There
Even
you
if
go.
I don't agree with it, I might
Mhm.
be 100% not in agree,
Right,
okay, but I will respect that you're gonna make your best decision, and at the end of the day, my day-to-day routine may not, like I'm gonna keep it moving. So
right. All right, so that is our take on the election, guys. I know we'll have some little clips and little snippets that we'll share on TikTok and Instagram, and hopefully you guys will share with us who you like or what your thoughts are on our episode. But we pray that everything will be okay. Align whoever you vote for as who you vote for. We'll still like you. So
we
have a
will.
good one. Have a good one. And we will see you on the next episode of DIY Try or Buy podcast. Mm-mm.